Do you remember the first time you saw a dinosaur? First time you see them, it's like a miracle. You read about them in books, you see the bones in museums, but you don't really believe it. They're like myths. And then you see the first one alive.
This is not your fault.
But it is.
This one's on me. I showed him the way.
And that's a clip from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I'm delighted to say Chris Pratt is back on the show. Bryce Dallas Howard, welcome. Very nice to see you. How are you guys?
Fine. Thank
So
you, Simon.
good.
How are you?
Thank you.
I'm doing okay. So get us up to speed with where we are in this particular universe and with your characters and your relationships. So over to you.
Hit it, Chris.
Hit it, Chris. It's been 3 years since the last movie, and the timeline we're picking up on reflects that. So it's 3 years after the events of the most recent installment, Jurassic World. And the island has gone wild. It's abandoned. It's overgrown, and also a dormant volcano on the island is threatening to destroy all life on the island. So
Previously dormant volcano.
previously dormant, no longer dormant. This thing's gaining steam, and looks like all the dinosaurs are going to die, and the world is in conflict as to whether or not those animals should be saved or we should allow them to die and have things restored to the natural order. And Bryce's character, Claire, has put together a group called the
Dinosaur Protection Group.
and she is intending to go in and extract as many of the dinosaurs as possible and put them on a sanctuary so they can live out their lives in peace and not be the objects of observation anymore, but just animals that can live their life because they live on Earth and inherently they're given the right to live. And my character believes more they should probably die and things should go back to normal. But she recruits me to come with her on the island, appealing to my better senses as I raised Blue, the raptor, and Blue is still alive. And so that, combined with the fact that I have a lot of love in my heart for Claire, we make the trip back. And the question is, do we extract the dinosaurs before the volcano explodes?
Or do we not?
And if we do, where does the story go from there? And we realize
I ask the questions. There's no point in you asking questions because I haven't got the answers.
That was so thorough, Chris.
Was that thorough?
Whew.
I
Yes.
feel like I stuttered a little bit.
Nope.
That's kind of left nothing for you, Bryce.
Oh, gosh, no. I mean, trust me, there's still 2 more acts of the movie.
So he still has some love in his heart for you. So what's happened to you guys in the intervening 3 years? What happened to you? I thought you loved each other.
We did and we do. But it's complicated.
Of course.
And I think that really what you get a sense of in the beginning of the film is that they were together, they tried it out, and there was kind of this unresolved ending. So it hasn't really ended, but there's something unresolved about it. And then when they come back together because of these, the circumstances on the island, obviously the relationship plays out accordingly. But it's something that was really fun for me, getting to think about not only like what might have happened in between, but also like we've completely almost shifted dynamics. Like I was the character in the first film that felt or had a sense of apathy as to the situation. Like, oh, well, this is, their assets and it's black and white and this is the situation. And whereas in this one, it's much more so Owen, who's kind of like, he's sort of like Dr. Ian Malcolm. He's like, let nature take its course, whereas Claire is like, no, we have to do something. So we've kind of switched roles in a way.
And Dr. Ian Malcolm, of course, is back in the picture, which is great news
Glorious.
for everybody.
Jeff Goldblum, to those of you who don't know Dr. Ian Malcolm's name, it's Jeff Goldblum.
It is, and everyone cheers when he comes back on. When we spoke last, Chris, it was for Guardians 2, and you were talking about the higher expectations for the second movie were making you a little bit nervous. So that to one side, given that this is the second, how does this feel? Because the last one did pretty well. So are you similarly nervous for this one?
Well, I think that no matter what kind of a movie, no matter what year, there's always a little bit of nerves going into the release of a film, I think. We've all worked really hard on this over the last couple of years. We're incredibly proud of it, but you never know how an audience is going to respond. This is, I would say this is different. The feeling is different on this one than a Guardians because I don't have just the previous movie. I have we have the entire previous franchise, and we have a real responsibility to make a film that's going to be worthy of the franchise because it's so beloved by so many people, and also usher in a new generation of young kids who will like these movies. And so the pressure was on for all of us, and we felt it the whole time, but I think that it's allowed us to work hard, buckle down, and really deliver a good movie.
Because the last one took I think it was 500 million the first weekend, so it was such a phenomenal success. Bryce, do you feel any kind of sense of nervousness or trepidation, the fact that it has so much to live up to?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head as to the thing that I try to not pay attention to as much, which is that there are the financial expectations, and then there are the expectations from the fans in terms of the story. And I think that for me, while of course, this is a commercial endeavor and we want to make a profit, obviously, I think where I stand, I'm so deeply invested in, like Chris was saying, the franchise, which has now basically become like Jurassic Saga, and it hopefully will definitely live on after us. I mean, it certainly will. And so we want to just ensure that these movies continue and this story continues to get to be told.
We've already mentioned Blue, one of the dinosaurs. Just tell us a bit about what's changed, because technology changes so fast. Tell us about the physical dinosaurs that you work with. Tell us about the digital dinosaurs. What are we going to see in this picture that's different?
The determination of whether or not to use a computer-generated image for a dinosaur or to use an animatronic dinosaur, a physical puppeteered dinosaur, is often determined just practically based on what that dinosaur is doing in the scene. And because of the nature of this film and the fact that we have put these animals get kind of put onto a cargo ship and remain contained for a chunk of the movie, there's several set pieces where the dinosaurs are contained, and we were able to use actual animatronic dinosaurs. And the difference between using an animatronic dinosaur and making a film with a CGI dinosaur at the end result is not that big of a difference to the audience. They look real, they're fantastic, they're terrifying, mesmerizing, but in the process, it's so much more fun and a little easier as an actor to have a real puppeteer dinosaur against which to react. And we've got this amazing team of animatronic puppeteers who are operating these dinosaurs, and it's just unreal how far technology has come, because these puppets, look, it's come a long way from, I don't know if you have Chuck E. Cheese here or the Muppets. These things are, for all intents and purposes, living, breathing creatures. They can blink, they can move their eyes, they breathe, they make sound, they can articulate each of the knuckles in their fingers. It's truly...
They can bite you.
Yeah. We brought our children there, and our kids were like, listen, Dad, listen, Mom, I'm not getting close to that thing.
Yeah.
Nicely controlled. Because it was so realistic.
Yeah,
they're so realistic.
Do you think, given that this story's been, this saga, as you describe it's been going for a while, and it's part of our movie-going heritage, do you think it's tougher to scare people now?
Yes.
We've seen we get the T-Rex, we've got all that, we've seen them fighting. Do you have to up the ante? How do you scare people all over again?
Yeah, that's what I loved about the first Jurassic World, was kind of the premise of the movie, which was that, dinosaurs, what's the big deal? We're kind of over it and been around for decades now. And so, hence the invention of the Indominus Rex to scare people more.
Just explain what that character, what that dinosaur is.
So the Indominus Rex was basically a genetically modified dinosaur that was a hybrid of different characteristics from the most kind of like dangerous dinosaurs that ever walked the earth. And of course, we in Jurassic World, we created that dinosaur in order to, as an attraction to bring in more revenue and profit into the park. And of course, man's hubris, and the Indominus Rex ended up just like killing a lot of people, and here we are, and the park got shut down.
You have a young kid, Chris. And you've talked about taking the kids on set. What age should people? Advice for parents. Is this tough for a 5, 6, 7-year-old? What age should you be, do you think?
Well, having a 5-year-old myself, he's not sensitive to films that feel dangerous. And so, like, I showed him Jaws, and he was okay with it. I think it's a parental call for sure, up to probably 8 years old. I think this film, although it's...
Or 12.
What's that?
Up until, probably a parental call up until like 12.
Right. No, I think I think
Bryce
at 8
is giving
years
you the
old, you just give
official.
your kid the car keys and you say, "Listen, here's $20. If you want, it's up to you." No, it's a parental call. It's a PG-13 movie, but if your children have been able to watch the previous films at home on DVD or something like that, then I think they'll be able to handle this one. Although there are elements of this film that feel, in a way, more contained in terms of the suspense and the danger. It feels different and it's heightened to a level, but I think kids can very much enjoy this film.
I think also that's the fun of sci-fi is, I'm a parent as well. My 11-year-old son is going to be there opening day. My 6-year-old daughter wants to be there opening day, and we're going to take a beat with that. But I think that with sci-fi, the comfort as a parent is that it's like you can have those conversations about, what is real and what is pretend, and you can get to those deeper thematic messages that are relevant, that are these teachable moments.
I have a question for you, Bryce, which we're going to play in. Okay. Yes.
Oh,
we're
great.
going to play it to you.
Yeah.
Hey, Bryce, I wonder if you can describe what you've learned from the two different directors of the Jurassic movies that you've worked with. I know you're interested in directing and you're moving into that career. And specifically, in anything that you picked up on that that you're going to want to use, when you move behind the camera.
Now, I was expecting Dad to ask something kind of fluffy, but actually we get a proper question. So you have a new director on this movie, J.A. Bayona, and he's saying, so you've worked with two on these pictures. What have you picked up?
What I'll first say is that's a totally genuine question from my dad, because as an actor, you get the privilege of getting to work with a lot of different directors. And then when you shift into being a director, you're really only working, on your own and being surrounded by your own team, and you don't really get that perspective. And so I know my dad, that's one of the things that he misses most about being an actor is getting to watch other directors work. And so to answer that question, I would say that Colin, there was a sense of unifying purpose that Colin brought to the process of Jurassic World, where we all felt so involved in the final vision of what we were creating, and he just brought this kind of like hardcore fan, love this process, excited about this, passionate about this, thinking about this critically, really wanting to deliver this, giving it all our heart. And by the way, every single person who's working on this set is just as involved as I am and just as important as I am, and I being Colin. And I think that's something that's very unique and very special, and to be able to be a leader and also be that on set is huge. And then J.A. is a hardcore artist. He's a visionary filmmaker, and he's a very sophisticated cinephile, and he brings that passion and love of movie history into his work. And then he himself has his own very singular cinematic voice, and applying that to the Jurassic narrative is so exciting. And he was so empowered to do that by Steven Spielberg, by Frank Marshall, and by Colin.
Kind of means that you've got one question less, Chris. But you can answer that question as well if you like.
Yeah, difference.
What I learned
what
from
you
either?
learned.
Yeah, we got in 20 seconds.
From Colin, very intentional camera movement. I think combining dialogue with well thought out blocking, I think that's good, because sometimes two people talking to one another becomes very stagnant in a film with movement. I think, creating a lot of movement. You see Claire and Owen's first meeting. He's walking to one side of the compound, back to the other. He's doing his thing. He's taking a drink of a Coca-Cola. Like all this different stuff that's keeping dialogue scenes active. And with J.A., I'd say not folding in on yourself when you're the leader of a collaborative art form. If other people have ideas and opinions, going in and understanding that you're mining for gold. You're not planting flowers and waiting for them to grow. You're digging and mining for gold.
Chris and Bryce, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful metaphors.
It's poetry.
I speak in metaphors.